This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's Timely Topics. My name is Michaela Hartle, a program assistant at the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Tonight, we are joined by Brittany Stephenson. Brittany, I think it's about time we had you on here.
Thanks so much, Michaela. I think the timing is essential, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks to this organization for hosting these types of conversations and pop-ins, and it is about time. So I can jump right in to be mindful of it. My name is Brittany Stephenson, and I'll go ahead and get started because we have about 30 minutes and time is of the essence. So I will be off screen, sharing my screen. So if there are any questions, I like for stuff to be interactive and things like that. Headed into fall, heading into the winter, I thought it was about time to kind of strategize in terms of end of year goals, right? And so I think time is a huge component of something like that. And so this is kind of where this conversation is going to go. Again, of course, I'm hoping it could be collaborative and cooperative. So if there are any suggestions, comments, or anything about time, just come off of mute. Thanks to those who are on live and those who will be watching back. Michaela, you'll have a copy of this recording, so my contact information is there as well. So it is about time, October 25th. Let us get started. This is, again, of course, the ABCs of time management. I'm taking a unique approach today, right? I'm not going to give you anything that you could Google, but some things that I've learned throughout the course of my career. I've been the founder of Busy Bees, virtual assistants and business management for about 6 years. And so we know a thing or two about time. On the screen, you'll probably see my bio. Of course, I'm an onboarding specialist, and we just celebrated 6 years this past May. Happy to be a UConn School of Business recent grad, 2021. Time certainly does fly there. So that's me, and you'll have my contact information later. I think in terms of an agenda, which is one secret sauce to having time management down, is know what you're going to talk about, how you're going to talk about it, but also making sure that your audience has kind of like an understanding of it. So here you have the agenda. We're going to talk about the A, accountability, the B, boundaries, the complexities, the why, and the rewards associated with time management. And so we'll just dive right on in. The accountability to time management from my perspective, right? So you think about accountability, you hear a lot of sessions about what does that look like. When I think about and how I approach time management, I think about accountability to not only yourself, but to your family and friends, to your clients, and then on the other side of it, to your vision, to your plan, and to your purpose. I understand this specific organization is definitely geared towards the entrepreneurs. And so, as you all know, we juggle quite a bit, and we always are interested in doing more. I think one of the keys, or as I like to say, one of the A's to time management is just making sure you check in with your accountability, right? So how accountable are you to yourself? What does that mean in terms of your family and your friends' needs, your clients, your vision, your purpose, and your plan? So what that looks like in real life, right? So how do you show up for yourself, right? Are you accountable to yourself? Are you a self-starter? Are you reliant? Do you hold yourself accountable? And in the same way, would your family or friends be able to say the same thing? So it starts with a quick mirror, and then you hold that mirror up for each of the stakeholders in your life. That's one thing I like to think about. On the other side of the screen, you see the vision. I think a secret to having time management is being able to stay committed to your vision. In this world, especially in the post-COVID world, we always are trying to figure out how to do more and more and more because we always are trying to find time. And we'll get to that slide in a little bit. But honestly, slowing down and saying, hey, this plate, whether it's a large plate or a small plate, is enough. And I want to be accountable in these various areas of what I have on my plate and eating that up before going to buffet. Time, I like to say with a lot of my clients, time is like a buffet, and you have your eyes here, you have your eyes there. If you're like me, you have your eyes on the dessert tray very quickly, but you want to pace yourself in terms of what you want to do. So that's the A. That's the A of time management. And so then I quickly go over to the boundaries, which is the B, right? I have the thing with my clients where we always joke and I say time is not lost. And you have, if I'm sure everybody here who will watch this a bit later, they say, hey, can you find some time on some calendar? Can we find some time to connect? But the reality is time is never lost, right? It is often mismanaged. It's often wasted in some instances, but lost it is never. And if you follow my Instagram, my business Instagram, you'll see I kind of tease time as like where's Waldo type of thing. These boundaries are important. You have your professional boundaries, your personal boundaries, and your progressive boundaries, right? And so once you realize that time is not lost, you just have to figure out how to maximize it. You kind of realize another boundary is that time is expensive, right? If you approach time management as something that's always going to be there or always available, you're selling yourself short because time is expensive in the sense of if you have 30 minutes to do something and it takes you 30 minutes to do it, you can kind of cut it back there. On the screen, you also see time is a dream. And I also like on this slide when I say time is also an opportunity to dream. And that goes back to the accountability of vision casting and vision planning, right? And then, of course, the time is an investment is a huge thing. I'm sure everybody has heard that before, but it really and truly is. And especially, I'll spend some time here, especially as we head into Q4. We are in Q4, right? Time is not lost, but it's going to be hard if I were to get on and say, "Hey guys, let's find some time on the calendar right now." I think it's about 10 of us here. What would that look like, right? We have competing priorities, we have families, we have personal things that are working on. And so if we can just realize and remember um, that if we build in those boundaries and if we build in and remember that we are all a part of a team and who's driving what, then sort of kind of that kind of helps. I talk very quickly, so I'm going to slow down and come back on the screen and see if there are any questions, comments, or anything in the chat. Like I said, I like this to kind of be like a conversation. I'm not one to really have to necessarily go on the screen and share all the time, but I see there are some people here, and if it's okay with you, Michaela, may I ask them about how they spend their time or what they're looking at in terms of their time for the rest of the year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. I think you said okay. So I think somebody, Julie, is that you coming off mic? Please talk to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say as a student, like my priority is more like my schoolwork and kind of like finding that balance between like school and friends and work as well. So I guess that's kind of where like my time lies.
Okay. And how are you approaching your time right now? Where would you say, as you're heading into the holidays, I imagine you have finals and, of course, more hours. What strategy do you have in place, if you have one, in terms of time management for the rest of the year?
I guess right now it's kind of a trade-off. I kind of have to focus more on like exams and school and projects, but I do like make sure that I give myself like time on the weekends to really like enjoy like time with friends and really like make those memories while it is like my senior year.
Absolutely. On the next slide, I'll talk about some of those ways to kind of merge the two as you continue in life. And I think everyone on this call can attest that it's always nice to find that sweet window where there's intersectionality with both, right? And so when I was a working student, I would invite my friends who were not even in the program to come have a coffee and chat session with me, which would have me studying as well. So it's always finding ways and pockets of time to do the most without having to feel like you're losing too much. So congratulations on senior year as well. So is there anyone else who wants to share any of their time management tools, or even if you have a question about how best to manage a couple of times, we're going to get to the complexities of time, which is, I think, where we'll spend the most time on it. So, all right. Okay, perfect. So, Julie, you mentioned that you balance your time by kind of having your own boundaries, which is super great. You have work, school, friends, and we can go back to the accountability. You also have yourself, which was not on your list, but you have your order and you have your plan. And so you kind of follow those ABCs there. So let's talk about the complexities of time. I want to spend a lot of time here, not too much time, but a little bit of it just to talk about it, right? So we all have full calendars. We all have, hopefully, raise hands, I guess, or something in the chat if you're like building in those buffer times. It's 15 minutes to prep, 15 minutes to debrief of any meeting that you have. I think we're doing that. If not, that's a tool that I will share. That is something that's always super great and helpful in terms of making sure you can show up and be prepared for whatever you're doing, whatever meeting or whatever activity you have going on, right? So so let me just keep it moving. So calendar the cancellations, double book when in doubt, and safeguard yourself. Those are the three things that help you tackle the complexities of time, right? Because there is only 24 hours in any day. That said, you have more than 24 things to do in any given day. And so I like to share that if you know that you're going to have a cancellation, and this is just being in I have like a lot of clients and I like to volunteer. When you understand your personal and professional priority list and things that you're doing, you kind of can gauge how you want to approach that, right? And so for me, it's important for me to start my day with myself to make sure I show up for every other entity, organization, or whatever I'm doing for the day. So does that mean I get up super early? Yes. If you're not an early bird, you don't have to do that. But whatever you do, I look at my calendar, because we all live on calendars these days. If not, you should, because they do that for you. And then just look at those cancellations. And 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure everybody had a cancellation of sorts today. I'm pretty sure there was something on your calendar that is rescheduled, canceled, or something like that. I encourage, in terms of complexities of time, keeping that on your calendar, right? So if Michaela were to say, "Hey, Brittany, we can't do this today at 3 o'clock. Can we reschedule?" Happy to do so, but it's the calendar is still going to have the cancellation, because you can use that time to get back to what you need to do, whether that's a coffee break, whether that's let me just do a list of 5 things that I have on my punch list. Let me get that there. So maximizing those cancellations, and not necessarily just taking it off your calendar and saying you have free time. I think that's one cool thing. And then I also like to spend time here, because when I first started out in the business, all of my clients, they would cancel. And it took me a couple of years to not take it so personally, y'all. I'll be honest here, right? They would cancel. And I'm like, why? Like, why? But now I look forward to those cancellations, because I can get in 25 squats if I'm doing a fitness challenge, or I can get in a water or something like that. So I don't say I lean into cancellations, but if we need to reschedule, absolutely. Time management, a synonym for it, and I'll just share this because we're having a conversation, is flexibility. So as long as you can be flexible, you'll be great. And like I said, calendar those cancellations, because they save you a lot of time. But you have to remember the ABCs, they kind of go all together. So if you are accountable to yourself, you'll have that checklist in the morning and says, this is what I want to get through today. And if you have a cancellation, you can hop back to that, right? So it's not like I have free time, whatever. You could do that, but how are you accountable to yourself, making the time work for you? Also building in quiet time, and things like that. I don't Do people have a healthy sense of quiet time right now? Alicia, I think that's how you say your name. How are you? What does your quiet time look like? What are your moments for yourself look like?
What is quiet time, Brittany? Um, no, I mean, it's something that I'm definitely trying to work on, and being able to, like, as Julie said, carve out like time on weekends, and be good about kind of setting an end of day for myself. I think, obviously we all deal with the working from home aspect of there not really being that big separation anymore between work and personal life. So just trying to make sure that I like put a hard stop on stuff, so that I can, enjoy a stress-free walk with my dog, or, dinner out with girlfriends or something.
How do you manage your hard stops? What does a hard stop look like? How do you just like drop the Zoom, or what does that look like working from home?
It's shutting my computer and putting it somewhere out of sight.
I love it. I love it. So see, you already know. You asked what was quiet time. You already have it. For me, I think I live by my computer and my phone, but I really activate the new do not disturb, the new focus settings. They're amazing. And if you aren't too careful, you will forget that you have them on. So make sure if you do use those focus that you double check them and turn them back on at the end of the day, because sometimes it's just so quiet and you're like, wait, nobody's called me. Everyone has called you, but you were focused on yourself. So that's super, super great. I think the next thing on here is, when in doubt, double book. Now, do not share this with anyone. I'm only sharing this with you all because this is a network that I can really say that. But you have got to bet on the unreliability of others, for better or worse, right? And so if you have competing um, priorities, if you know you have some things going on, and say you won't have girlfriends, I'm jumping back to you, Julie. You have girlfriends, you're like, hey, let's grab coffee, but you know you have that girlfriend that necessarily the last time you scheduled coffee, she canceled every time, right? So building in that double booking, like, yes, I'm going to be at the library or wherever, meet you for coffee. That way, if she does cancel, then you're already there and you can already get stuff done. I That has been the secret to this last year for me, and I just will share that with you all. I hope none of my clients see the playback, because I bank on their unavailability, right? So double booking, triple booking sometimes has worked in your favor, because you don't lose the time. Again, that's of course going back to calendar and the cancellations and things like that. Um, Now, what happens if everybody is responsible and they show up and life works out perfectly and you're double booked? Well, you started your day with accountability. So you may just have to jump off of a call early. You may have to join a call soon, late. You may have to do those things. But in my estimation in life, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, let me just be very bold here. You will be double and triple booked, and you will see that you'll have the flexibility to do that. And at least as you say, you may have to push back when you walk your dog, but you'll still have that. And then when you go out, you'll be like, well, I've had a lot to do in terms of getting stuff done. So I guess it works either way. So hopefully that works. I like to triple book myself all the time. And then you just in the morning wait for somebody to cancel. And it's like, no problem. It's really not a problem because, time management has allowed you to do that. But then that also goes back to my last thing in terms of the complexities of time, which is safeguarding yourself, which is protecting your protected time. So whether you call it quiet time, whether you call it time to eat, just building in a break time. I think some of us, especially as entrepreneurs or busy individuals trying to navigate life, we have families, friends, all of those things. It's important for you to just hear yourself think, right? And so even if you put time on your calendar for you, you should honor that in terms of as if it's a client or if it's a class or if it's an important meeting. So for instance, I hear you both talking about the weekends and how you give up your weekends to hang out with people. Well, not give it up because it's rejuvenating, but I want to encourage everybody here in terms of time management heading into a really busy season, to just always make sure you're safeguarding yourself and kind of plugged in with what your body needs. Another example I'll do. I'm usually always online, always working, but Sunday afternoons are really where I safeguard myself. So if anybody's viewing my calendar, any client tries to book anything, I think from 2 to 10 o'clock every Sunday, it's blocked for myself. And that's kind of just helpful to help you recharge. And you can pick whatever day of the week works best for you. Like I said, I've been doing this 6, 7 years. And so I find that late nights on Fridays, you will never catch me out. I'm really using my time to go to sleep, but it's on my calendar as my wind down as going to sleep. So just finding those pockets of time. And I know 2 to 10 seems like a long time, a long chunk of time. It is. And it rarely is fully that time, but you need time to revamp and really consider what you're doing for the week. I know you've probably joined podcasts and sessions where they say, outline your week on Sunday. I'm not a huge fan of that because it takes away from your personal time when if you could build time on a Monday morning or whenever you have the time to start your week to etch that into it. I just don't believe in giving up your protected time to kind of think of what's happening down the pipe. But you can be prepared in a different way, in a different sense. Essentially, that's how I approach time. That's the ABCs. I'm going to get into the whys and we'll dig a little bit deeper. But I also want to highlight a couple of terms that people probably talk about all the time. You hear the term sabbatical. I think everybody should take one, even if it's 3 days, where you, as entrepreneurs here, as busy students, as everyone doing everything, you need time to kind of just recharge and reinvest in yourself so you don't get burnout. Burnout is absolutely real. And you kind of know when you hit burnout because you're cranky, you're not using exclamation points and emails. At least that's how I know. I'm a very exclamation point user. So when I don't use that as much, I'm like, maybe it's time for me to kind of pull back. So that's kind of something that I want to highlight and stress here. Again, my ABCs of time management is really different. It's a different approach because I know we're heading into holidays and things like that where time really does not work. I wanted to also tackle the entrepreneurial spirit of this organization with this call and really talk about the why of time management. I could have spent this presentation talking about what I do and say, hire help, do this, outsource, outsource. That's a presentation for a different day for a different audience. This particular conversation today is really just the time management for yourselves. And I think if you can remember as you get into a more busier season right now, as you focus on you and your needs and take time to listen to yourself, you'll see that you'll do better business, you'll do better partnership, and you'll do better life governance, right? So you don't want to end the year very tired, and then you have the 2 weeks where everybody's closed and you don't know how to relax or you don't know how to reset. So that is what I wanted to focus on this particular time. So you got the better business, whether you're doing business, making business, the better partnerships, family, friends, mentors, mentees, and then the better life governance. You kind of feel better um, about how you're using your time and you don't feel like it's wasted because so many times at the end of the week, at the end of the day, you feel like you've wasted time or you could have squeezed something in here or there. You don't necessarily need to always squeeze in time there. And then the rewards, of course, it's kind of hopefully been apparent, which is to protect your time, which will lead to protecting your influence, which will lead to protecting your work, both personal, professionally, and otherwise. And I think that is actually going to conclude it because I do like to focus on giving back the gift of time. So I did want to turn it over for comments, questions, concerns. Um, ideas or anything like that, but I'm going to stop sharing so I can come back. And of course, Michaela, you can have this. It has all my contact information. If people want to deep dive about time management tools, happy to do that, but I'll stop sharing right now. And then I'll share this. Michaela, I'm going to turn it back over to you so you can seal it with the kiss with this upcoming event.
Sounds good. Okay, so right before we jump into questions, I just wanted to let the audience know that our next upcoming Timely Topics is going to be next Thursday, November 3rd at 12:30 p.m. with Grace Napolitano, and she will be talking about how to conquer imposter syndrome in 3 easy steps. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. I see you on my screen now. Good to see you.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have so many thoughts, but there's
I
just
wanna
not
hear
enough
them.
time, you know?
We have at least 8 minutes. So please, what are your thoughts? How are you going to approach time this season, this holiday season? What are you doing?
Hey, so I've done a lot of work on time management over the years and help coach entrepreneurs, right? And having them manage their time more effectively. And there's a few strategies that I've shared with some members of my team. I don't know if they've integrated it yet, but one of my favorites is to block off actual time on your calendar for specific long-term projects. Like if you have to bite off chunks of things. So I'm really good at getting started at the beginning of something and putting in a ton of energy and effort. And if there's not a quick turnaround on a deadline, like let's say the deadline is a few months in advance, it fizzles out. And I know that about myself. So being self-aware is really important, but I try to every week block off a chunk. So I just take a little bit of time and I know that I keep something moving. So that's been really helpful for me in managing multiple projects at once. And then there's one other thing that you brought up about managing time during the day and like double and triple booking. That's hard for me to manage or mentally process how that would work. But I do agree the transition time is really important. So trying to give yourself the space. And now in a world where we're hybrid, so there's like in person and virtual. It's like you need the time to walk now. You need the time to get in your car and actually drive to a meeting. So I think that's really important. So managing your calendar, it's huge.
I love it. I love it. It looks like Muhammad dropped something in the chat and he says personal time versus business time. Which one is most likely to take out of your calendar if you have to? I think it goes back to Jennifer's point about the priority that you place on it, right? So if you have an upcoming vacation or an upcoming presentation that you need to work on and you have something that's due a little bit later or that you can kind of outsource or get to it in a couple of weeks, there's not a hard turnaround. I would say the business side. Yes, I will share that again. But I don't think you have to, Muhammad, to your point, I don't think you have to necessarily choose is this personal or is this business? It's really what is the priority of it, right? So it's like a personal thing would be you taking your kid to the doctor. That is a personal matter and it's a priority versus can I reschedule a meeting for the end of the day? So I wouldn't break it down as personal to business because that just makes you have to pick one over the other. I think prioritizing what's important in that moment is the key. And whether that sometimes it's going to be personal, like if it's the last soccer game of the season, that's a personal thing, but that's a high priority, especially if you're working on the kickoff of a project that has a consistent recurring meeting for the next 6 weeks, right? So you see, you kind of just determine that for yourself. But I wouldn't personally break it down as personal time versus business time. It's just what's the priority of that day or the week. And then this is going to be are you talking about the Stupin, are you talking about the contact information? I can drop this in the chat for you so we can do that. I think that's the thought you wanted. So that's that. Who else is on my screen? Kate, I don't see you, but I see you're here. How are you planning on managing your time for the rest of, hey Kate, good to see you. How are you planning on managing your time for the rest of the year?
The rest of the year, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like time management is something that I'm really good at. I feel like in college, I had a double major, I had a minor, and I really had to figure out how to fit it all, how to work it all. And so I'd say that as actually one of my strong points is just, like you said about the calendar, I love my calendar. I love scheduling things out, knowing when everything is due and doing them or getting them started days before, just so that it's not, the day of and something comes up and I'm not prepared. So yeah, I'd just say to continue doing that, continue to schedule out everything that I need to do, and know it days in advance so that, yeah, I'm not frantic when it comes.
I love it. And how have you, Kate, in your experience, handled those boundaries, right? So when you have something, this is that, and you have people lean into those boundaries, would you share with us how you handle that from a time management perspective?
Yeah, do you mean boundaries within like personal time versus professional?
Yeah, or the intersectionality of both.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would agree with it with everybody else and what they're saying. Just, having the weekends to decompress. I feel like that's super smart, just so that you can go into each week ready and not feel burnt out. Trying to think what else I do. Yeah, I think that's really it.
I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
And one thing I will always say, Michaela, I'm throwing this right back to you. Whatever you do, when you have the position to have time and control it, you should always give it back to others whenever you can. So I'll give you back at least 3 minutes of this presentation. And thank you so much again for having me. I hope we can stay connected. I really hope the ABCs of time management and headed into a busy season is helpful. And of course, that you find the time to do whatever you need to do, stay recharged and refreshed. So thank y'all so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think that was a phenomenal presentation. I know I got a lot out of that, and I'm hoping the audience did as well. So I will look forward to connecting with you and seeing where else we can make an impact on entrepreneurs.
Love it. Thank y'all so much. Y'all take care.
Have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.